everyone. Welcome to Americana Station podcast. Thanks so much. It's Teni Rane, correct?
Yes, Teni Rane.
All right. And so you're from Chattanooga originally, but you've been all around the world. Are you currently in Chattanooga?
No, my family, my parents and my sister are in Chattanooga, but we're currently living in Kingsport, Tennessee, in the Tri-Cities region, near Bristol and Johnson City.
Awesome. Yeah. Johnson City's great. So you have a new record. It's kind of holiday themed, right?
Yeah, it's singles. It's a
Singles.
mini EP, but released as singles this time around. Hopefully someday a full album.
So what made you decide to do I guess a single EP versus a full album?
Lots of things. So there's always the balance, right, of access to studio time, finances, all of that side of things. And then there's also the being ready for it, right? There's the testing the waters and trying to figure out working in new environments and new systems with new people. So when I recorded these, I was abroad. I was in Sweden over the summer playing and living. And I had the awesome opportunity to meet and work with some great musicians there and to be in a studio there. And it was an exploration in a lot of different ways, right? Being in a much larger studio space, adding more instrumentation than I had done in the past. And so there was that consideration of, okay, as I'm walking into this, what is it that I want to get out of it, right? What is the goal? What's the end point? And I had these holiday songs that I knew I wanted to record someday. And I felt like in that moment represented or presented an opportunity to play a little bit more, right? To stay true to your sound, but also it's like, okay, these are holiday songs. They're supposed to be a little bit different than what people have maybe heard from you in the past.
Right.
And so it gave me a little bit more just courage, I guess, to say like, okay, yeah, let's try this. Let's do this. Let's do that. And it not feel as much pressure on that decision. And so that was a big reason around like, okay, I know I want to do these holiday songs. And then there's also the side of it, right? I know you're in that independent musician space too. It's really nice to have something that is evergreen that you can point back to that doesn't have like an album life or an album cycle. It's like, oh, you know what? It's November again. And so we can, you just have that consistency with your audience of something you can always point them to that's you and is authentic and fits with their emotional space and what is happening in their life during a certain time. So there was the two sides of it, right? I think too, going the singles route, we play holiday shows every year and we have an album worth of material. And I didn't want to overdo it in that moment. I was like, I want to know that I'm going to get these really solid and done and then move from there, right? Have the opportunity to record some more in the future and have more releases coming, all of these things. So there's a lot of reasons that it's really great. There's also parts of it that are like, oh man, I wish that I did have a whole album, because on the keeping people's interest side, all of that, like an album is easier to promote in a lot of ways.
Sure.
But singles also have the opportunity in the kind of new and changing music landscape of being those just like little touch points with your audience and with your fans. And so those were kind of all the big reasons around them. I love how they turned out.
That's awesome. So, 4 songs, are they all originals? Are there any, I mean, I don't, by the looks of the names, I haven't heard them if they are covers, but we've got Meet Me in Stockholm, Cozy Inside, Rosemary and Evergreen, and Tennessee Snow.
Yeah, they are all originals. So the first one, Meet Me in Stockholm, that is a separate single, a special single. It's not a holiday themed.
Oh, okay.
It was a very appropriate one to include since I was recording in Sweden. I wrote that song years ago when I was over there playing soccer and was really homesick. And so that song came out of that time, but I couldn't not record that. If I was going into the studio in Sweden, I would have just felt really wrong about it. So that's an original tune that is a letter home, right? Hey, come see me. I miss you a lot moment in time. And I've always been fortunate that some of my loved ones can come over and see me while I'm there. So that's really wonderful. And then the other three, yes, they're all original holiday tunes. So Cozy Inside is November 4th release. And then Rosemary and Evergreens coming right after Thanksgiving this year. And then Tennessee Snow in early December.
Awesome. Yeah. I am from Louisiana originally, so the Tennessee Snow is I've only experienced that the last 8 years I've been here. The first year that I was here, I think was 2014. Yeah. And we got, at least here in Nashville, we got like 8 inches, and then we got like another 3 or 4 inches or something like that. It was ridiculous. We were snowed in for over a week, and I was just like, that was my expectation for Tennessee snow, which is not always the case.
No, it's not. And so that's kind of the fun thing, and I guess the theme or the feeling behind that song. We don't get it a lot, right? Tennessee Snow, the chorus is, Tennessee Snow, it comes and it goes. Promise we'll be right here year after year. And so there's this fleetingness to snow in Tennessee. But when you're lucky, right, you get that big, like 8 inches or 12 inches. And it's, for me, at least, I can't speak for everyone, but for me, it's almost like this little respite in the holidays where it's like, okay, we can't go anywhere. We can't be in the chaos. We can't be in the bustle. Like, we're home and we're together, and let's make that part of the holidays too. And so that's, the Tennessee Snow is not something that we get a lot, but that song came out of, I guess it was a few years ago. Here we had, for the first time in a long time, a big snow, and we just really loved it. We just kind of holed up and made hot chocolate and built a snowman and walked around in the park, and it was calm and
was that
lovely.
The week where it was like 2 weeks in a row, like it snowed and then it melted and it froze, and then like the next week it snowed over that, so we were like stuck in for forever.
Probably, yeah. I imagine it was somewhat similar. Nashville and Kingsport are not neighbors, but they're not so far apart, right? It was probably not so different. Yeah.
That's awesome. So are you playing a lot of shows to support the record? Playing like the Down Home or Songbirds? Or
I haven't been able to get in Down Home yet. Someday I hope to. And Songbirds is definitely a dream. But we do have a couple of things coming up. So we're playing in Chattanooga on the 25th to support that release, which I'm really excited about.
Of November?
Yes, of November. The 25th of November at this awesome newer venue in Chattanooga called the Redbud. In downtown on the south side on 13th Street. And so we'll be there. And then we're playing the Blue Plate Special in Knoxville on the 26th, so the next day, November 26th. And then December 9th up in Abingdon, Virginia. So that corresponds with the release for Tennessee Snow for that last single. And we're really excited about all three of those. And it's always fun to get down to Chattanooga and see faces that I haven't seen for a while, and hang out with family. It's a good place to play because I got a free place to stay.
Yeah, that's always the best.
which is really great.
Do you have a full band when you travel, or is it just it's you and your husband mostly?
Yeah, just me and my husband. He plays bass and I play guitar and do the singing. I try to get him to sing with me sometimes, but he says I have to choose. He can't sing and play bass. He says that's just too hard.
Is he upright?
No, he plays electric mostly. But we do have an acoustic bass too. That's what we jam with at home mostly. But we usually take the electric to shows just because it's a little bit easier for people to dial in. A lot of people haven't seen acoustic basses, like guitar bass. Yeah. And so they kind of look at you and they're like, So we've stopped taking that one out with us because it seems to always cause some consternation and some weirdness in the house mix. Is just like it's either super muddy or you can't hear it, and we've just stopped. But yeah, guitar, bass, vocal. Sometimes I drag the keyboard out, but not super often because traveling lean is nice.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I had a minivan for the longest time, but I just bought like a little Prius to get better gas mileage. And I don't know how well I thought that through because I can fit like a guitar and maybe a little bit of merch. That's about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause then, yeah, there's the merch boxes and there's, your suitcase too. Like that has to go somewhere. You might
Right.
have to get one of those like
Racks.
top boxes.
Yeah.
I've never seen a Prius with one, but it would be cool because you'd be the only one.
That'd be the only one. Yeah. Definitely can't sleep in the Prius. Maybe.
No, not as easily.
Maybe
Not
curled
as
up in the
easily.
fetal position or something. I don't know. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I did it. I'm glad I did it, and it'll be great on gas mileage. But it's definitely the smallest car I've ever owned.
Yeah. So we sold my car for that reason. I had a Ford Focus ST that I had for years and I loved it, but I couldn't even fit my PA system in it.
Oh
Right.
yeah,
Like if I got the PA in, there was no instruments.
yeah,
If I got the instruments in, there's PA. So we're trying to assess right now. We just take Jonathan's Accord. He has a Honda Accord, so it's not expansive, but it works.
yeah,
We can usually get the PA in the trunk and the guitars in the back seat, and that usually goes okay. But so I'm in this like, oh, okay, maybe I should get, what do I get? Like, do I get a minivan? I'd love to get a Subaru, but they're kind of expensive. So
yeah,
it's, you gotta, it's hard to balance the like, well, what capacity do you really need versus what car do you want? And those
yeah,
two things don't always match up. Cause like what I want is like a goldenrod yellow El Camino, but that isn't super great for travel either. Cause then you got to get like a cover for the bed and they're not really reliable, all these things. So we'll see what I end up with. But
well, my
maybe
thought
not
is,
a Prius is what I'm
yeah,
hearing.
yeah. Well, it's not. I mean, I play solo a lot.
Yeah.
But the new record is very honky tonk, so I'm gonna be
Yeah.
next year going out with a band. So I'm gonna have to rent anyway. I mean,
Sure.
I'd have
Yeah.
to pretty much. I mean, I could probably take the minivan out, but it's getting to that age of like unreliability, so it was time to move on from it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Makes
I'll
sense.
probably just end up renting anyway when I'm taking a band, so I just have to take that into account. That's not that big of a deal, but I think the Prius. We'll see. I'll get back to you next year when
I'd
I
love
start.
to know.
Yeah, yeah. Definitely no naps in the Prius though.
Oh, bummer.
So that's the one thing I will miss. I think is being at the venue. 4 hours early, and
Sure.
you just go
Loading
pop
in
in the
at
back of
2
the
p.m.
minivan.
for an 8 p.m. show.
Yeah, yeah. You just take a nap in the minivan. No big deal. Can't do that anymore. But
No.
so
Oh,
uh, I know that you're doing this. Well, I guess they're singles, but EP kind of holiday deal. Do you have any plans towards a future release? Are you working towards your next, um, I guess, single or EP?
always. Always.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm in the midst of team building right now for that
Mhm.
next project. So I've been talking to some different musicians and laying out what I'm hoping for that. Right now, I sometimes I maybe should work forwards instead of backwards, but I think working backwards works really well sometimes too. So I actually have a release date that I'm targeting already, but I haven't started recording. So we'll see how that goes. But I hope my vision, my goal, my next project would be a full length album for next fall, for fall of 2023. I guess that is. Wow, time flies.
Yeah, it's not even
And
a year.
it's not even a year,
Yeah.
but I think that we can do it. I
Mhm.
think that, all the songs except for one that's kind of in flux, all the songs are finished.
Oh, okay.
in terms of, composition and lyrically. And I'm starting to work through what do I want on this piece? What is the sound? What is the instrument that goes here? And so that's the meetings with different people right now. And I don't want to mention any names yet because we're not committed and locked into anything, but really excited for that. There's some really amazing musicians in this area up in Bristol and around Kingsport too, that I'm excited to get to know a little bit better and hopefully get to work with. And I hope, regardless of the album, so I'll say this, Will, regardless of the album being complete and ready, I will be releasing a single on September 29th of 2023 because it's the first full moon of fall, and that fits really well with this song. So regardless of how everything else goes, that song will be released on that day. So there will be a single next year. Hopefully there'll be a full album. If there's not, I may just kind of trail it out, do whatever, a couple singles that are ready, and then release the next fall, the full album. So there'll be something for people next year.
So like writing, and I guess musically, on your bio, it says that Nancy Griffith, Carole King, John Prine, the Eagles, Fleetwood Mac are some of your influences. Now, is that something that you like that got passed down from your family, or was that something you discovered on your own? Because those are some older.
A lot of that got passed down from my family. So my dad was 50 when I was born. So my parents are a bit older, and so that's what I grew up listening to. We had, I've had a minivan my whole life. I mentioned I played soccer. That was, throughout adolescence as well, like travel soccer and all of these things. So we had a 6 CD changer in the minivan, and those were some of the things that were rotating through there quite a bit. And so that's a big part of the music that, you just grow up listening to, because that's right, who is being listened to by those who are in control of the 6 CD changer. But we had a lot of fun other things that we would roll through there that were smaller, independent musicians, kind of like you and I are today, that would come through Chattanooga at this awesome coffee shop called Charles and Myrtle's that I grew up going to before we were on the road so much with soccer. That was like an every Saturday night thing from before I can even have memories, right? Like, remember. And so there was those influences too, which, amazing writers like Buddy Munlock, who actually was one of Nancy Griffith's influences. So she had my favorite album of hers, which I feel bad for because it's not actually any of her writing, but Other Voices, Other Rooms, which I hope to do an album like that someday. I think is just the coolest concept, where she had the opportunity to pick kind of her influences and her songs and the artists. And so Buddy Munlock wrote a song on that album, Coming Down in the Rain. And he was one of the ones that would come through that coffee house all the time. And I just thought that was the coolest thing, right? Like, here's these like levels and layers of influences that are kind of coming together in that spot. So Buddy Munlock, Pierce Pettis is another awesome writer that has come through there. Buddy Munlock also wrote with Guy Clark a bit, I believe. So lots of very.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. You met Guy Clark? Were you about to say you met Guy Clark?
I wish. No, I was going to say I met a bunch of the writers for Nancy Griffith's albums because I did this thing at City Winery right after she passed away. And I got the opportunity to cover one of her songs, and then I'm trying to remember. I actually have a list over here. Kathy Mattea, Tom Paxton, Pat Alger, John Vesner, a bunch of different people, and then just like people that didn't, that we were just kind of featured. Like Betsy Phillips was there, Jess Chicoy, Nora Jane Struthers, Amy Speece, and it was super cool. And then
believe it.
Oh man. Nancy Griffith's manager came, Phil Kaufman came by too. So it was just like the whole night was like, you're the lowest on the totem pole, just like,
Sure.
holy crap, like all these
All these
amazing
people.
writers, and then you go out and try to do your best. You're like, I hope I'm doing justice to this legend. But yeah.
Yeah,
um
that's awesome. But yeah, so I think, yeah, a lot of influences always come from, what is it that you grew up listening to? And then going from there. I also, it's funny too, because I think there's artists. I've always been really drawn to lyrics. So
mm,
the instrumentation is one thing, and I know some people, that's what they gravitate to. For me, it's always been the lyrics. And so there's
mhm,
also like there's bands and like styles of music that I wouldn't necessarily say like, oh, I love listening to that music.
mhm,
But more like I love the poetry of the lyricism. So other like I love Simon and Garfunkel's lyrics.
mhm.
I like some of their songs, and then some of them I'm just like, I would have chosen something different for these lyrics, but it worked for them. So that's great. Like another one, I love Chris Christopherson. I think
Mhm.
he's just the best writer. And we grew up listening to all that stuff too. But yeah, it was always the lyrics for me. And so
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
drawn more to writers than to um, bands, I think.
And I mean, like, but Chris Christopherson, wrote Me and Bobby McGee, which Janis Joplin did. Like, so like he wrote some
Yeah.
killer songs that like way bigger people did too, and did really really well.
Yeah.
But it's just amazing, like Chris Christopherson, who isn't the best singer in the world, let's be honest. Like, but like just contributed so much to popular culture with his writing, that it's just,
Mhm.
yeah, that's a great example of someone that is not for everyone, but lyrically is like just, and like an
Genius.
actor, like incredible act, like just like, yeah, everything. I think he was like some kind of army person too, did something big in the army as well.
That sounds familiar because I think oh, that sounds familiar because I think when he did his master's in fine arts, like his English master's, I think that was maybe on the GI Bill. I could be wrong though. But that sounds
Well,
like
somebody
a
fact
thing.
check us.
Somebody needs to fact check that.
That's
But
it.
I mean, he was a great writer, but then he like went back and did the education piece too because he just, I guess, loved it that much.
Hmm. Yeah. So when you write, is it like over a long period of time? Do you edit as you go? Do you write really quickly and then edit later? What's like the writing process for you?
Yeah, so there's a little bit of both of those two things. Whenever I get to write a whole song in one go, that's always fun. It happens sometimes, not a
Mhm.
lot. Those songs, usually the ones that I write that are just like it all spills out and comes together, are usually a lot more emotionally driven ones, right? It's like something that
Mhm.
or that I'm processing or working through that's like, I don't know how else to say it or deal with it. So here's the song. So those are usually the heavier ones,
Yeah.
I would say, are the ones that come all at once. The ones that are more story driven or more imagery driven, lyrical, a moment that I'm trying to capture or a feeling that isn't that just, that I have to get this out right now, but this more ethereal or harder to access or feel
Mhm.
feeling. Those are the ones that is like the chorus and the first verse emerge. And then they have to wait a while to find their siblings.
Mhm.
So I have both on paper and like a Google Drive file of and the voice memos on my phone too, of just like things and ideas and moments that come to me that I'll write out or hum out and try and capture, and then those go in the unfinished folder. And then whenever I have a moment and I'm feeling like I really want to write something, I want to get some images down, then that's where I go to that unfinished folder. and pull, click through and see, what do I have? Flip through the notebook, listen to some voice memos. And what I love about that approach, I have a whole document too that's like not necessarily a verse or a chorus or like more solid full pieces, but are just like this image or this sentence, this idea. And so that's like my random thoughts page. And what I love about that is that for me, I've found that a lot of times those images or thoughts or these really random ideas, once I start seeing them all kind of in a document in a space where it's like this one and this one and this one, then you start to see the story that's emerging from those kind of disparate moments that you were having. And you were just like, oh, like this feeling or that moment. And you realize like, oh, there's a thread there. And like, this is one song. It just came over time. Yeah. And so I think that's always really fun. And those are kind of my favorite ones because I learned something about me too. And I think that's kind of special. I think that's one of the special things for me about songwriting is I learn what I'm thinking. And that's really helpful because I think every human struggles with that. It's just like, where am I in space and time? And what am I feeling? And what's the goal? What's the point? What am I trying for? What am I moving towards? And so those little snippets coming together and showing me like, this is the story that I'm feeling right now. And this is where it's coming from. Those are really fun. Those are really fun ones.
Have you been to Folk Alliance before?
I haven't, but I'm going in February. I'm super thrilled. I've thought about, becoming a member and doing all these things, but up until quite recently, I was really in the like 9-to-5 grind. And so it was hard to envision, having a whole week to actually delve into music and do that. So I'm thrilled. I'm going in February, and I'm also super, super grateful to have received one of their first timer scholarships. Okay. So I'll be there and trying to organize all the like private showcase rooms and all of these things, and really excited to just meet more people and be more in the community. Cause I've always been like, I want to, okay, I'll try again next time. So I'm really excited for that. I think it's gonna be a blast.
You'll have to pace yourself because those 4 a.m. mornings will tire you out. But
what? The schedule is wild.
Yeah. It, like the daytime stuff starts at like 10 or 11, but nobody actually gets up till like 1.
Yeah.
But one of the things they do is they'll do like one of those songwriting like where they throw out like a word and you have like a couple of days to write a song, and then you can kind of share the song with the group and stuff. Those are pretty cool. Several of my friends got like actual songs out of doing that.
Cool.
But those are fun, and kind of going off of like what you were saying with writing the all the different phrases down. It's fun to sometimes challenge yourself in that way. Like I wrote a song on my new record that I was like, okay, I want it to be under 60 words. How can I make this happen?
Interesting.
And I got that from Willie Nelson's one of my heroes. I'm wearing a Willie Nelson.
Oh, I love it
right now, but he's one of my heroes, and he did things like that, like where he would challenge himself to like 40 words or 50 words or something like that in a song.
That's interesting.
How can you make it interesting with like such a limited word? And I like songwriting challenges like that because sometimes you actually get really good song out of it, and sometimes you don't, but you get a really good idea for another. Yeah, it's a great exercise. Yeah. What's your kitty's name?
This is Tiny Cat. I think I was just saying, I think I'm going to have to make him get down because I can hear the purring coming through the microphone, which is cute, but I think you got to go. No, this is Tiny. He's a little gremlin.
And for everyone listening, he's a black cat.
He is. He's a sweet boy. Yeah, that's it. That's an interesting, I haven't done that. That would be fun.
Yeah.
I'm also kind of curious to just count the words in my song since I've never done that either. Like, how many words do I usually use? That'd be interesting.
I can be wordy. So it was more of a challenge of, can I not be wordy?
Okay.
Can I get the point across that I want to make where I have a limit where like, nope,
Yeah.
60, cut this down. You can't say that. How can you say this in less words? And
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, it's fun. It's a fun exercise. But yeah, learn that some of that stuff from Folk Alliance, So word of the day, go write a song. So
Cool.
fun stuff.
Very cool.
Well, where can everyone hear your music?
Oh, everywhere they get music. Even so, that's one of the funny things about delving in to all of this stuff is there are so many streaming platforms out there that I have never even heard of. But listen, my distribution partner is CD Baby. They put it on all of them. And I'm just like, okay, I've never heard of Yaxi, but that sounds great.
Right.
Rolling with it. I do have it on Bandcamp, which Bandcamp is such a great partner for independent musicians because they really, you just get way more out of Bandcamp than you do out of the bigger, streaming platforms. So Bandcamp on my website, tenyrane.com, of course on Spotify and Apple Music and everything else, Pandora, Amazon, it's out there and I'm excited. And
any physical copies or
not of these. I do have physical copies of my EP Heart in Tennessee that I released in 2020. Those are mostly right now just available at shows because I haven't quite figured out all the where the best place is to have your merch store because there's so many options, right? You can do the Shopify through Spotify, or you can have one on your own website, and then they can all be different items. And so that's a hard thing for me because I don't like stuff. But merch is a really important way financially for independent artists to survive. So I struggle with that on a just like an emotional level of like stuff, but also I'd like to be able to record more music. So maybe I should have stuff for people.
I literally have
still
a
working
merch
on
closet. Like I have an entire closet dedicated to all the merch that I have because
it's wild. It really can be overwhelming. But yeah, everywhere you listen to music, and excited to be, on these just digital right now. Hopefully someday again, a full kind of winter holiday mix album.
Next September in the fall.
Yeah.
You're going to be releasing.
Well, no, it won't be holidays next fall. I'm going to have to string that out. I think, it'll be more autumn focused next fall, but I'm excited to, it's one of the things that's really interesting. I don't know if I didn't see any holiday music in your discography as I was listening through, but
no, I have written some holiday songs in old bands, but yeah, the gospel and the Christmas stuff will come eventually whenever I have more fans to
sell it to. But what's been so interesting with the holiday ones, and I didn't think about this in the recording process, I was just like, oh, like this is gonna be fun because these are mine. They're about my vision of the holidays, what I enjoy, what I hope for. But it's kind of weird on a different level than just normal music of like, hey, like I hope you enjoy this and listen to it. It's like, hey, I want to be part of this like really intimate family space that is your holidays. That's a very different thing. And so that's been an interesting thing to realize. And like, I really didn't think about it until, Cozy Inside just released. And I was like, oh, this is different than other music because this is part of a family space and like a tradition. And like, it was one of those weird, like imposter syndrome moments, right? Where you're like, am I good enough to be in that space? So I do hope that people enjoy them, and I will be so honored to be a part of any holiday that I am through the music. It's fun. It's really fun.
Okay. Final question. And then we're about to run out of time, but, hot cocoa or eggnog? What's your holiday drink?
Oh, so
is there a third party?
There's a third party, Will. I love holiday nog, which I can't really find around here because it's a Brahms thing
Oh,
that I've only found like in Arkansas, Texas, Missouri, like out Midwest area. But holiday nog, I love. I like the seasonings of eggnog, but I don't like how thick it is. So
that's the
holiday
best part.
nog, well, so but I don't like adding
Rum.
like whiskey or brandy or
Yeah.
rum to it. I just want to drink it. And so
Yeah.
holiday nog it's still thick, but it's just like it's basically heavy cream.
Oh, okay.
Instead of like eggs, it's just like condensed down milk and it's delightful. And Brahms
Hmm.
has the best. They also have holiday nog ice cream.
Oh,
And so that's one of the things like my partner Jonathan, who plays the bass for me, his family's from Missouri, and we always go back to Missouri for Christmas, and that's like a non-negotiable. Like we go to Brahms and we get holiday nog and holiday nog ice cream, and it's delightful.
okay. Everybody's got to look it up. Well,
It's delightful.
thank you so much for coming out and stopping by, and good luck with your holiday stuff. Everybody go put it on your Christmas playlists or holiday playlists.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tenny
Thanks
Rain.
so much, Will. It was so much fun to chat, and I appreciate you making the time for it.
No problem.